Payday 2's story ended with the gang's raid on the White House. After a few counts of voodoo magic and ancient prophecies, Bane becomes the president and the gang goes on vacation. That is, if you get the good ending. The bad ending just wraps up in Bane's burial in an unmarked grave in the middle of nowhere, the crew pardoned of their crimes. However, even though the story stops there, Overkill continued to release DLC that expanded on the story. During the good ending, canonically, only 5 heisters are involved. Hoxton Dallas, Chains and Wolf as the ground team, and Duke on translator duty. But were the other heisters just lounging around at the safe house? Apparently not, which is what these DLC expand on. At the announcement of the new Silk Road campaign, the current whereabouts of Clover, Sydney, Sopal, and Sangres were about to become known. Intro aside, let's get into the actual DLC that we received from this campaign. The border crossing heist was the first map that we received since the White House. Was it worth the wait? Hard to say. Understandably, the community reception wasn't very warm. There really wasn't anything original in the map, reused assets, objectives we've all seen before, and the same enemies as every other map. However, on a more than visual level, this map isn't incredible either. This map should have been 2 days, with the US side being one and the Mexico side being the other. Overkill decided to make this cinematic transition between the two instead. While I can appreciate the idea, it comes with a treasure trove of issues. First and foremost, this causes performance issues for many people without strong PCs, as both sides of the map are kept rendered at the same time. Another issue is the vast difference in difficulty between the 2 days, with the first being easy to defend and not really taking more than 5 minutes. The second day, however, is one of the hardest and longest in the game. All this results in is day 1 being filler for the restart fest that is day 2. This is fundamentally bad map design, and a great way to put players off of a map. Border Crossing remains one of my least played maps because I really don't want to have to repeat the first part 10 times, hoping for good RNG on the second. And speaking of RNG, this map has it pretty bad. The second day requires stealing either 12 bags of cocaine, money, or weapons. This is really an exorbitant amount of bag moving, especially for a map of this size and difficulty. If you don't know, I'm a player that plays almost exclusively public games. This means that getting weapon RNG can drag out the map to the 50+ minute mark. This is abysmal, and probably a reason many people dread the thought of this map alone. Long maps are fine, if they aren't solely based on RNG. If you pick White House, you know what you're in for. Likewise with Shacklethorne Auction. With Border Crossing, your time is dependent on a coin flip. All that said, I think this map really has potential, so how do we fix it? First and foremost, 2 days. As seen in Big Oil, pickups from day 1 can be carried over into day 2, meaning you can keep the keycards and crowbars from the first day. This would help the frame rate and fix a lot of frustration. For day 2, change the amount of bags needed. For example, 12 bags of cocaine, 10 bags of money, or 8 weapons. Even having changed this, the map will still remain one of the longer ones in the game due to the horizontal objective spread. On release of this map, there was a bug that allowed you to set up the hose before completing the bag objective. I accidentally reported this, and it was fixed. This bug actually made the map significantly better, so I decided not to report the other bug that I found, because then I would truly have no reason to play this. That aside, with the amount of objectives in this map, just allow them to be done at the same time. The hangar can already be opened out of sequence, so why not? This will allow experienced players to split up and do different objectives, which is an inherently riskier play that leads to a faster completion. These changes will make the map significantly less frustrating to play, while still keeping the original ideas. Border Crystals was a map packaged in with Border Crossing, but that's because they're really just the same map. I mean it, day 1 and all. The only differences are the objectives. This map is one of the many meth cooking maps. However, if I were to pick my favorite cooking related map, this would be it. That's not really saying much, given I don't like them at all, but this is the least bad of the bunch. Locke lists off ingredients way faster than Bane, which really just means I can spend less time on the map. You can also just secure the bags and escape whenever you want to, which is significantly better than dealing with Twitch's schedule. There are enough ingredients to finish the map just lying about, but if that didn't quench your thirst for meth, just drill open the trucks and find materials aplenty. However, I think there's still room for improvement. Obviously, the optimization fix is one. Another is equalizing spawns. See, there are 2 lab spawn locations on this map, but one of them has very few enemies and the other doesn't. These 2 fixes are both basically bugs, but something that can actually be changed is the extra materials. Why do you need to drill to get them? It just seems like padded time. And especially considering you'll drill open some trucks and find nothing in them, it's a redundant step just to be in the way. I can't really find a purpose for it. The second heist DLC came with the San Martin Bank heist. let's start off by admitting the fact that this map is beautiful. Unlike the previous Heist DLC, this one has tons of custom assets, objectives, and even new enemies. However, this map has some awful flaws. The first of which, unsurprisingly, is optimization. This map is one of the worst performing maps in the game, and I don't really have the knowledge to tell you why. Another issue comes from those original enemies. On release of this map, the common enemies were broken and all seemed to do about 100 damage. Eventually this was fixed, making all common enemies do heavy SWAT damage. This is pretty goofy, and I'm not exactly sure why this happened, but now this enemy faction is broken for the rest of the maps that use them. However, there's another problem that is unlike these and anything in Border Crossing. The pre-planning is basically required. Having pre-planning is a good thing in general, but San Martin does it pretty terribly. Vlad's Surprise allows you to skip the beginning part of the map, and Zipline allows you to skip the end part. Obviously you can play the map without these, but do you really want to? The beginning requires you to just sit there waiting for 4-minute drills, and the ending requires you to manually haul 4 bags to the van 10 miles away through an open space, at least 3 of which are as heavy as gold. Again, you can play the map without pre-planning, but you won't, I won't, and no one else will really. Beside that, this map plays pretty nicely. Being outside is really dangerous because enemies do more damage, far-reaching sniper spots, and 3 SWAT vans. 3 SWAT vans? What the shit was the point of this? SWAT vans are terrible for game design because of how suppression works, so these hunks of metal are just annoying and in the way. 1 is fine, okay. Everyone on Slaughterhouse focus fires the turret and it's gone soon enough. 2 is frustrating, for example Heat Street. But 3 turrets on 1 map is just silly. Anyway, back to the main point, which is to say that most combat is spent inside the bank, more out of necessity than anything else. Aside from the objectives to set up the beast, I find it hard to complain about the gameplay of this map. Do you really want to run into the square to carry the beast? Not really, but unfortunately there's no pre-planning to skip it this time around. So how could this map be improved? First and foremost, fix the enemies. Make lights do their correct damage, and clear out some turrets. You get 1 turret overkill, place it wisely. Next, let's change the pre-planning. The zipline is hard to get around, so save for making the bags lighter, there's not a whole lot you can do. The beginning is easily fixed, on the other hand. Just make these drills shorter. There's no reason for them to be 4 minutes long. Are you really telling me these gates are tougher to drill than those literally guarding vault loot? And last but not least, please just fix the optimization. I don't know how to do that, but Overkill surely does. After all, the next map they released was pretty well optimized. Breakfast in Tijuana was the 3rd Heist DLC. We haven't talked about the final map yet, but I'll just spoil and say that it isn't as good as this one. Breakfast in Tijuana is my favorite map released during the Silk Road campaign, and it's pretty easy to see why. It comes with the originality of San Martin with none of the issues. Well, it has issues, but they aren't the same as San Martin's. The first issue is that you can just grab the documents you need through the wall instead of drilling. Considering that you can only check 2 of the 13/14 spots without drilling, this isn't a map-breaking issue. The second problem is that you need to pile this evidence together and then wait for it to burn. First off, why does paper take that long to burn? From personal experience, it only takes a moment or 2. The second is, why are we even burning it to begin with? In Stealth, you could just sort of flush it down the toilet. Or what if we just, I don't know, took it with us when we leave? Again, you'll notice this isn't really an issue. These 2 points are more or less nitpicking, because it's hard to find something to seriously criticize on this map. It's clean, original, and runs well. Just a great map overall. Bullock's Mansion is the final map of the Silk Road campaign, and it sure is a flashy finish. In this map, you break into Bullock's mansion to kill Bullock in his mansion. Anyway, this map is questionable. It's undeniably pretty with its saturated colors, unique map layout, and interesting objectives. However, just because they're interesting doesn't mean they're good. The objectives are my main gripe with this map. Well, other than the optimization. This map follows the trend of being pretty hard to run. Anyway, the objectives. The first major objective is getting into Bullock's inner sanctum, and there are 2 methods. The first, a hack. The second, sprawling across this bona fide mansion and looking for random small objects to assemble a bomb. You may notice that the former is simpler than the latter. Hell, even now I don't know how to do the assembly thing without the contractor's help. It's weird to have RNG decide if you get such a simple solution or such a complex one. It's also kinda weird that you need to do 3 short hacks instead of just 1 long one. I'll get to it later, but this objective can be fixed in a 2-for-1. After getting into the inner sanctum, you need to find a secret opening. And this objective is, well, it's okay for what it is. In my opinion, there are too many things to search through. The next major step is opening the door to Bullock, and I really don't like this objective. I can see how it would be interesting, but there's just too much. Standing at this wheel trying to find the animal you need is so lethal that it's not even funny. You have a spawn point literally around one corner, and a staircase around the next leading to more spawn points. Without someone actively defending you, good luck doing this. You could cut the amount of animals in half, and nothing of substance will be lost. There are more issues with this objective, that being the decoding of animals. Depending on your textures, good fucking luck figuring out what animal is which based on the picture. It's honestly better to just look up a translation of which name leads to what animal, because it's not like relying on someone to give the correct animal is foolproof. After killing Bullock and stealing his SSD with recordings of all 6 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, you need to make your way to the escape. This is where there's a minor pre-planning issue. The helicopter escape is a lot better than the regular escape, but to be fair, it's not as bad a case as San Martin. Let's just get into how I would have done this map. First, I would lower the spawns. It's not something I mentioned previously, but this map has obnoxious spawns. Yeah, it's the final map of the campaign and whatever, but this is kind of ridiculous. Lowering it a bit will only help the map. Next, breaking into the inner sanctum. It's pretty goofy to have 3 short hacks, or 1 long sequence of running around, but you could just combine them. 1 long hack, during which your team can get materials to make a bomb. Once the hack finishes, the door opens to reveal a barrier or something that you need to blow up. If you have players that finished the map before, they could have collected the items during the hack to set up the bomb right away, making this whole sequence more rewarding. Now that you're in the inner sanctum, how about just searching the lights? You could put more lights across both rooms to even it out after removing the bookcases. I think this is a better solution, since searching through bookcases is a thing we've already done in Hawks and Breakout, and sort of in the Golden Ring Casino. Light fixtures would be new, however. Like I said earlier, just lower the amount of animals needed for the puzzle, and the objective would be fine. The only thing I'd like to change about the escape is to remove the turret from the default escape. Can't you just say, oh, the SWAT van is blocking our escape, let's ram it with a car? Nothing changes about the objective, but now you just don't need to deal with the worst mechanic in the game. That covers all the maps we got in this campaign, and I really wish they didn't have the glaring flaws they do. I really like these maps, but I wish they were less of a chore to play. That said, out of 10 I'd give them these scores. Now, we got more than just maps in this campaign, so let's go over the weapons that we got too. The first weapon pack we got wasn't really even a weapon pack. The Cartel Optics pack came with a whopping 10 weapon modifications. For $3, yeesh. That said, these modifications are kind of sort of very good, at least for concealment. For someone like me who tends to push builds and weapons as far as they go, these modifications are integral to optimization. Out of my 13 5 build videos, 6 used mods from this pack, and considering how many weapon mods don't even see the light of day, that says a lot. From the point of optimization, this pack is incredible. From the point of balance, this pack is probably one of the worst out there. It's basically textbook pay to win. The next weapon pack, the Federales pack, actually has weapons in it. 6 to be precise, but really it's 3 pistols and akimbo variations of those. Are they good? Not really. The Bernetti automatic are pretty shit. They burn ammo and don't give a whole lot in return. They can have the highest fire rate of anything in the game, which is unique I guess, but who really cares? The Czech pistols are just marginally worse versions of the Strix with marginally more damage output. There's not a whole lot more to say there. At least the Igor pistols have a reason to be used. The akimbo version has the potential to output the highest single target damage in the game, and watching them delete dozers and turrets, among other things, is pretty fun. The single Igor is also pretty fun to use, it has good stats and pretty high damage while staying controllable. The concealment isn't amazing, but it's a fun pistol to use overall. The Fugitive weapon pack came next, and unlike the previous pack, it made an impact on the weapon landscape. The M60 LMG was so fucked on release that a nerf came out for it within a few days. That nerf was one of many, as the M60 kept being cut down over time. It's very powerful, yes, but it doesn't really have an amazing feel or look to it. It's still great now, I just don't care enough to use it. The R700 is a sniper rifle that also came with this pack, and oh boy did it outclass the Rattlesnake. Basically every stat you could want to be better was better. Thanks to this gun's existence, the Rattlesnake is basically pointless now outside of aesthetics. But since this weapon pack was pretty meta-defining, it needed something to mellow it out. The Holt pistol and akimbo variant are exactly like every other pistol in the game. Does anyone care for them? No. Does anyone remember them? No. This pack is absolutely worth the money due to the R700 if you enjoy sniping. The gun is silly powerful, but the LMG is boring and the pistols are pistols. However, it's worth noting that this pack came with some weapon modifications, most of which I can't even tell you what they are off the top of my head. The only exception is the B-Team stock, a weapon mod for the M308 of all things. For some reason, this gives an absurd 19 concealment to the gun. God knows why it's this much, and God knows why Overkill wanted to put it in, but alright. Last but not least, although not by a massive margin, the Gunslinger pack. I'll start with the good. The Bernardi range hitter is sick. It has a unique damage point at which you can use it with base frenzy to reach important breakpoints. For the majority of players, this doesn't really mean anything. If you're going to Zerk, you might as well bring a semi-auto low damage sniper rifle, since they're objectively better. However, if I wanted to play Zerk on a health deck like Muscle, well, this gun is my go-to. I understand it's not for everyone, but this gun is a great addition for what I do, and it just looks and feels nice. The next weapon to discuss is the Frenchman revolver and the Akimbo variant. Here are my feelings on it. Moving on. The Rheinfeld 880 is a really good shotgun. However, it comes with a massive flaw. This flaw is one that I can't really overlook, because I think it's a pretty scummy thing to do. This weapon was completely and utterly replaced by the Mosconi Tactical barely more than 3 months later. It's fine to have weapons completely replace others, for example the R700. The R700 is a direct upgrade to the Rattlesnake, which came out in May of 2014. Replacing a free weapon is fine, a bit pay to win, but it's not a massive deal. Replacing a paid version is also fine if it's old enough to warrant. But replacing a gun within a couple months, both needing to be paid in full for, I just find that a bit shady. Some people don't have a use for the range hitter, and no one likes the Frenchman, but the Rheinfeld is really nice. So if you bought the pack just for that gun, which I wouldn't blame you for doing, well, Overkill basically just ripped you off. This pack also added some weapon mods, but they don't really matter either. And those are all the weapons we got during this campaign. It's kinda hard to rate them unlike the maps. Do I go by how well they're balanced? Do I go by how well they're designed? How much I like them? How much they bring to the game? I don't really know. I just won't give them a rating. I described basically everything about them to you, so you might as well decide if it's your cup of tea or not. Last but not least, this campaign came with drip. The first ever Tailor pack was released during this campaign, and it truly brought customization never before seen. Well, if you don't count mods at least. The outfits in Tailor packs 1, 2, and 3 are all unique and well designed. The gloves, well, they're okay. I prefer to just have simple gloves that match the rest of my outfit, but there's a lot of these gloves with subtle differences between them, allowing you to find the perfect fit for you. It fits like a glove, you could say. However, that's not the only customization upgrade that came around. Weapon colors were added in the Silk Road. The first color pack was underwhelming to say the least. They were just flat colors that you could add to any weapon you choose. But I guess you could say they came from humble beginnings, because the next color packs had some funky customization options. Patterns, gradients, shines, what more could you ask for? These customization options are also pretty hard to rank, as everyone has a different preferred style. But if you said there wasn't even one thing in these packs to your liking, I'd call you a liar. I'm personally a massive fan of customization in general, so even the stuff here that isn't to my taste I can appreciate. I've seen public players wear all of these, and it gives a lot more personality to each player. And so concludes the contents of the Silk Road campaign. Oh, actually there's one more thing. During this campaign there were several ARGs by Overkill to tease various things. Solving the puzzles would net you weapon colors which are no longer available to get, but truth be told, you aren't missing much if you don't have these. I'm sure the act of solving the puzzles was interesting, but given the size of the community and the fact that I live in the US, I was of no help to decode anything. Payday updates tend to release at bumfuck o'clock in my time zone, so by the time I woke up, there was always a guide outlining how to solve every puzzle. Anyway, the Silk Road campaign. Was it the return Overkill wanted? Actually, yes! At the time, Overkill was literally going bankrupt, which is why the border crossing heist is all reused assets. Thanks to these DLC, Overkill pulled themselves up by the bootstraps to continue making content for this game. As for the campaign's quality, well, it had its ups and downs. If nothing else, the Silk Road campaign was original, and even if some of the material is hard to forgive, fun to play through. But was the next campaign better or worse? Well, I guess you'll just need to wait for when I make a video covering the City of Gold.